Act 1. Scene. It is the quietest execution in the modern human experience. You're talking to someone every day. You share your thoughts, your history, your late-night vulnerabilities, and then a sudden absolute silence. No argument, no final message, no closure, just a digital flatline. If you have ever been ghosted, discarded, or suddenly erased by someone you trusted, you know it doesn't just feel like a rejection, it feels like a glitch in reality. Your brain begins to itch with an unbearable question. How can someone who occupied so much space in my life become an absolute stranger in a single second? You are left holding a broken connection, standing in an empty room, wondering if you imagined the entire relationship. If you are watching this right now, keeping a secret watch on a silent screen, I want you to know something. You are not crazy. You are not dramatic. You have been subjected to a deeply sophisticated form of psychological warfare. And today, we are going to look behind the curtain at exactly what this silence is doing to your mind. Act 2. Confused. The primary cruelty of sudden erasure lies in what psychologists call the ambiguous loss. When someone dies, there is a funeral. There is a physical boundary between life and absence. The brain understands the rule of death. But when someone vanishes without explanation, the brain is denied a verdict. Your mind enters a frantic, exhausting loop. It begins to audit every text message, every shared laugh, looking for the exact moment the shift happened. Did I say too much? Was I too needy? Did they see who I really am and decide it wasn't enough? By withholding an explanation, the person who left has essentially turned your own mind against you. You become the investigator, the prosecutor, and the defendant in a trial that never ends. The confusion is intentional, because as long as you are searching for the answer, your attention remains entirely bound to their absence. But the confusion goes deeper. It begins to warp your memory. When someone erases themselves from your present, they simultaneously poison your past. You look back at the moments you thought were genuine, the conversations where they looked you in the eye and told you they cared, and you start to question if any of it was real. Was it all a performance? Were they lying the entire time? This is the retroactive gaslight. It destroys your ability to trust your own perception of reality. Your brain, desperate to find order in the chaos, reaches a terrifying conclusion. If I couldn't trust my judgment then, I can never trust my judgment again. You begin to doubt your intuition, your value, and your sanity. You are caught in a psychological purgatory, trapped between the reality you felt and the silence you are receiving. Act 3. Clarified. To break this loop, we have to look at the mechanics of the person who walked away. Sudden erasure is rarely about your inadequacy. It is almost always about their structural cowardice. In our corporate chameleon analysis, we talked about how people adapt to survive. The ghoster has a deeply fractured script for conflict. To them, an honest conversation, a clear goodbye, requires emotional maturity and vulnerability. It forces them to look at the discomfort of causing pain. So, to protect their own fragile ego, they choose the coward's exit. They delete the problem. They treat a human being like a tab on a browser, clicking the X to close it because facing the screen requires too much work. They don't see you as a person to respect. They see you as a mirror that reflects their own inability to handle intimacy. By vanishing, they aren't saying, "You are unlovable," but they are saying, "I am incapable." But notice what happens to you as a result. When you survive this kind of erasure repeatedly, your nervous system adopts a defensive architecture. You build a fortress. You become hyper-vigilant, analyzing every new person for signs of withdrawal. The moment someone takes an extra hour to text back, your brain flashes red. The silence is coming. You begin to practice preventative isolation. You leave before you can be left. You keep your conversations shallow and your walls high. You tell yourself you are being smart, but in reality, you have let the ghoster design your future. You are letting an absent person dictate the boundaries of your living world. Act 4. Relieved. So how do we finally step out of this architecture? How do we find relief when the answer is never going to come? The secret is realizing that the silence is the answer. You do not need a final conversation to close the book. Their disappearance was the loudest, clearest sentence they could ever utter. It told you exactly how much respect they possess, how much conflict they can handle, and how they value human connection. They gave you your verdict. They just didn't use words to say it. Stop waiting for the code to change. Stop auditing the archives of a relationship that someone else decided to delete. Your closure doesn't belong to them. It belongs to you the moment you look at the empty space they left behind and decide that it is no longer a prison, but a clean slate. The door is open. You can finally put down the phone. I am the I. And it's time to stop looking for people who chose to become invisible. Join me